Hello, Namaskar viewers. I am Sanjeev Pandya welcoming you to the Tax Talk with AJ Kumar right here on ITV Gold. You must have watched our last week's episode. That was the first episode of the Tax Talk with Mr. AJ Kumar right here on ITV Gold. And in case if you missed it, I'd like to welcome you and just want to let you know that in this series of this Tax Talk right here on ITV Gold, Mr. AJ Kumar, who is a CPA and MBA with Science CPA Services, will guide us, will educate us regarding tax laws, because year 2021 I think marks one of the years in the last decade or so. There have been so many changes in the taxes, whether it's a personal tax return or corporate tax return, and anyone can get confused, and you might get confused also, and that's why we need someone like AJ Kumar to guide us. I'd like to welcome him to show. AJ, good to see you.
Absolutely, Sanjeevji, thank you. And
Yes.
you're 100% right. This year, more so than any other year,
At least last in a decade or so. Yes.
absolutely, it's very important for our viewers to know what they need to know. You have to be concerned about the bottom line. If you are paying a lot of taxes, you must watch this show on ITV Gold. We plan to bring a lot of information, practical, ready to use information that you can use for your own taxes. You don't have to go somewhere else. You don't have to be going to a CPA or a high-priced accountant. Listen, learn, do your own research and see what you can use.
Absolutely. This is going to be very interesting. Last week's episode was amazingly discussed, and we got a lot of feedback also regarding that ITIN. Anything that you like to add? I know at the end of the closing of the last week's show, we said that whatever needed to be added, we'll definitely add in this episode.
Absolutely. So when we were talking about ITIN, a lot of people called us after the fact, and they wanted to know, we lured about the taxes, that if you don't have the ITIN number, the US clients are supposed to withhold 30% or 40% taxes from the payment. So we got a lot of calls. People wanted to clarify what those payments are. We'll try to cover those payments as well in our today's episode, which is more about 1099. 1099 deadline is January 31st. We want to make sure all the small businesses, if you have a small business, this is the episode for you. You must learn about 1099. There are severe penalties for not filing the 1099, not filing it right, not filing it on time. And the government cuts it differently. They don't really say, well, you forgot to file the 1099, here is a penalty. The government says, not filing the penalty, not reporting it, the recipient did not receive it. So the same incident is broken down into multiple episodes to increase the penalty. I mean, you will have a shock to hear the penalties could be as much as $500,000 for a small business.
That is
for
amazing.
not doing the 1099 right.
That's pretty steep. $500,000 penalty.
Absolutely.
That is pretty steep. Anyway, till now, let's talk about 1099. Let's just get the basic then.
Absolutely.
Till now, 1099 was a very simple term. Everybody knew, okay, that's are you on 1099? Are you on 1099? Whether you consultant, mainly consultants started this. And 1099 used to be right next to 1099. We were all so used to seeing MISC, miscellaneous. Right. But now there is a 1099 NEC.
See, absolutely.
And
well, 1099 miscellaneous, 1099 MISC is still out there.
Yes.
The purpose for 1099 miscellaneous has changed. So here we want to bring the contractor, the consulting payments. That's what covered under the 1099 miscellaneous. Now that purpose has been changed and is called 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation. And non-employee C compensation. So what used to be covered under 1099 miscellaneous, and as the name suggests, there is a separate 1099 for INT, interest. There is a separate 1099 type for rent, royalty, dividend, separate 1099s for each type of income. The income that did not fit in any of the box that the IRS has predefined, rent, royalty, dividend, interest, all those payments were going into miscellaneous. So it was harder for the IRS to decide if you are really a contractor, consultant, a non-employee type of situation, or it's just a miscellaneous 1099. To avoid that, the government has come up with a new form, 1099 NEC, last year, and now everybody, all small businesses, if you have hired contractor, if you have consultants, you must file 1099 NEC for each of them before January 31st.
Before January 31st. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And when is the tax return due for 1099 NEC?
Well, 1099 NEC is an income document, more like W-2. You're supposed to be giving the W-2 before January 31st. Now, like W-2, the 1099 NEC gets included as part of your personal tax return. If your personal taxes are due by April 15th, and this year they are due by April 18th. So you include the W-2, the 1099 NEC, the interest, the rent, everything, and file your 1040, the personal tax, before April 18th, unless you request an extension. If you file for an extension, you get additional 6 months.
Okay.
So 1099 NEC is more of an income document like W-2 that you are supposed to include.
Must be given out by January 31st.
Yes.
And 1099 miscellaneous, is it February 28th? That's what the deadline is?
Well, no, if you are filing it electronically,
yes,
the employer can file it to IRS. You still need to give it to the employee or the contractor before January 31st. So there are two parts to it. Filing it with the IRS and giving it to the employee. So when they calculate the penalty, they double it up. You did not give the 1099 to the contractor, okay? And you did not give it to the IRS either. So they are doubling up the penalty. So the February 28th that people get confused is for filing with the IRS. The individuals, the contractors, the consultant must still be giving the 1099 miscellaneous, 1099 NEC, the rent, the royalty, all those type of documents before January 31st.
Okay, so just to help out our small business owners, because you did say a couple of times that, you know, if you're a small business owner, then you must watch this show to learn a lot about the taxes when it comes to small businesses. Small business owner must know that if they have any employees, if they have any individuals rather working for them where they think they are giving 1099, and they must be in that impression that they're just going to give it 1099 miscellaneous, but now here is 1099 NEC. My point is that they should have an accountant to guide them, to tell them that this is the 1099 NEC category and this is 1099
You are 100% right, Sanjeev ji. Not knowing the rule, not knowing the law
could cost a
is
lot of money.
No excuse
Yes.
for not doing it right.
Correct.
You can't really say, I did not know the fire could burn me, that's why I put my hand in the fire. The IRS will not take the excuse, I did not know any better, so I did what I thought was the right thing to do. You have a business, you have a responsibility to do it right. If you don't know what you're doing, you better find somebody who knows what they are doing. So you're 100% right. The 1099 NEC must be filed for all subcontractors, all consultants that you have hired during the year for all your businesses. IRS has the right to deny your expenses, deny the deduction if you did not file the 1099. That can cost you a lot more than just the penalty. Let's say, for example, in your small business, you collected $100,000 as revenue, and in order to get the work done, you had to pay somebody $80,000, and you forgot to file the 1099. You missed it. Then the 80,000 expense deduction can be denied in your case because you did not follow the rule. You did not file the 1099 right. So why not do the right thing? Why not follow the rule?
Right.
Just do the right thing, file the 1099 NEC for the non-employee, and if you paid somebody rent, you file the 1099 miscellaneous for the rent. If you paid somebody interest because you took the loan, then you file the 1099 INT. Just make sure you file the right document and before time.
And before time, that's
Absolutely.
important. Now, penalties, you know, why are there such a strict penalties?
Great question. So if you think about it, IRS has no way to know who I'm making the payments. So I hired an attorney, I hired a couple of consultants for the website designer. I paid them thousands of dollars throughout the year. I want to claim that as an expense on my taxes. But unless a 1099 is issued to them, and if they don't claim that as an income, IRS is out of money.
I see.
So
yes.
When we file a 1099, a copy of the 1099 is automatically filed with IRS. A copy of the 1099 is automatically filed with the state, and a copy is given to the individual. Now the IRS has a record. This person received this much money from AJ Kumar. Now this person, whoever received the money, must report that money on their tax return. Now the IRS is not losing money. Unless IRS put some penalties. Unless IRS really make it difficult, a lot of people will not file the 1099. They will say, okay, I'll pay you the money. It's more like, can I pay you in cash? So I don't have to pay the sales tax.
Yes.
This is just to avoid that kind of situation. So if you don't file the 1099, the other person is not including in their income. IRS does not want you to be claiming that an expense, because the other person is not including the same amount as an income.
Yep.
One person's deduction must be equivalent to the other person's income.
Yes, absolutely.
Otherwise, the IRS system will not work out.
Yep.
That's why intentionally the penalties are kept so high to make sure people are following the rules. People are not trying to just ignore them.
In the past, there have been instances where I think companies have taken advantage of this, 1099 miscellaneous thing, and now slowly IRS is realizing it and tightening bolts in every single corner that they cannot be taken for granted anymore.
Absolutely, you're 100% right. 1099 miscellaneous type of income is most scrutinized income. Schedule C is the most audited schedule in any tax return. So the IRS is trying to automate the system, trying to bring new rules around it to minimize the tax fraud, to minimize the tax cheat.
Very well said. Before we go on a break, I just want to let viewers know that Mr. AJ Kumar is with Science CPA Services, a full-fledged accounting firm based here in New Jersey with multiple offices. For any tax-related or accounting question or consultation, you can definitely contact Mr. AJ Kumar at Science CPA Services. You will see the contact information on the screen, and my strong advice is that do contact them, especially if you're a business owner. Do contact them. Make sure that you are not penalized for not reporting the right way that you should be reporting your employees' income. Let's continue with this 1099 now.
Absolutely.
My question to you is that who should be getting 1099? Who should be filing 1099?
So all the small businesses, Sanjeevji, anybody who was paid more than $600 in the regular course of business. Let's say you don't have a business and you paid $600 or $1,000 to babysitter.
Yeah.
Should you file a 1099? No. It has to be a business reason. So all the small business, all the businesses are required to file 1099. The criteria that we use, that this person was not your employee, you paid more than $600 throughout the year. It doesn't have to be single payment. In all the payments added together. Examples, your landlord is getting more than $600. Probably your attorney is getting more than $600. Sometimes even the repair person, the person who repairs the office here and there, the handyman is getting more than $600. Your website designer, your IT computer guy, if he's not your employee. A lot of these professions are typically the contractor, the consultants for your business. A lot of these people are actually getting more than $600 throughout the business. So all these businesses must be getting a 1099. The only exception that the IRS understand is the corporation. If it's a corporation that did the work, say Science CPA Services is a corporation, we don't need the 1099. If it's a corporation that's doing the work, you don't need to issue a 1099 to the corporation, except if it's an attorney. All attorneys must be issued a 1099. So take a step back. If you paid more than $600 for your business reasons to anybody who is not your employee, you should consider filing a 1099 for them. Unless it's a corporation, if it's an attorney, you must file the 1099 irrespective of the fact if the attorney is a PC or a corporation. For everybody else, you can ignore it. If it's a corporation, if it's an LLC or an individual, you must file a 1099 if you paid more than $600.
Interesting. Very good point. Question comes to my mind.
Yes.
As there have been so many changes in the tax laws, and like I say, we mentioned earlier also that this year, 2021, is seeing so many changes in the tax laws. Why has an IRS changed the amount $600? It's been $600 for many years. Listen, cost of living is going high. Inflation is up there. Consumer price index is also very high. I mean, $600, don't you think that limit should be increased to perhaps $1,000?
Well, it depends on which side of the thought process you are, Sanjeevji. As the IRS intends to scrutinize more, as the IRS wants to automate the system more, there is one side that advocates the $600 should be reduced.
Oh,
Say,
really?
for example, 1099 INT is issued if you make more than $10 in the interest income.
Yes.
If you make $10, you get a 1099 INT. Cool. So why not 1099 miscellaneous or 1099 NEC? Why there? So this is a different school of thought. On one hand, people are arguing that $600 has been there for so many years.
Correct.
Why not? Even if you were to increase it with the CPI, with the inflation rate,
Yes.
it should be $1,000 or
Exactly.
more. The other school of thought is we need to automate the system. We need to scrutinize it. 1099 NEC, what used to be 1099 miscellaneous, for $600 is too high. Why don't we bring it down to make it lesser? That's why they capped it at $600 since then, and they have been
so
keeping it.
until they find common ground, they're just going to give you
Absolutely.
$600. All right, my next question is, and before I forget, since you're giving out information on 1099 NEC, foreign nationals, do they have to get 1099 NEC or file 1099 NEC?
Well, if you are hiring as a small business, foreign nationals, they are not your employees, because you must have a social security number, a work permit to hire the employees. So typically foreign people are considered as your consultant or your contractors. So you are supposed to get something called 1098 BEN, and the form which is similar to 1099, the form that's filed for the foreign consultant is referred as 1042S.
Yes.
The 1042S requires a mandatory withholding. The main difference is if you got $10,000 under 1099, I don't have to withhold any taxes. Tax filing is your problem. Under 1042, if we give a $10,000 on 1042, we must withhold. It could be as low as 5% or as high as 40% taxes. Deduct the taxes from your payment before we make the payment to you, and make that payment to IRS immediately.
Oh, I see.
That's 1042 theory. That's why a lot of people outside the country, foreign national in India, they're insisting, they're trying to get ITIN number now, so this type of payment withholding can be avoided.
Oh, I see. Interesting. 1042 as it's lesser popular in that, 1099
It's meant for
category.
only the foreign national.
Right.
So if there are a million 1099ers, there will be probably 1042. It's very, very uncommon, because a lot of people don't really hire individuals
Right.
from a foreign company.
Okay.
They will typically hire a company. So it's easier for foreign national to form their own private limited company in India, as opposed to getting the consulting gig under their own name.
I see. Okay. So if I can summarize it, 1099 NEC and 1099 MISC miscellaneous, you've given enough information. Of course, the limit remains the same, $600.
Right.
Now, my question to you is that can individual have a choice whether to go on 1099 or on W-2?
You always have the choice, Sanjeevji. So 1099 makes you a contractor. W-2 makes you an employee. So you have to look at the whole situation holistically. On W-2, there are certain taxes that are deducted before the money is paid to you. So the Social Security, 6.2%, Medicare, 1.45%. So on W-2, the same taxes are paid by the employer as well on your behalf. So when somebody is hiring you as an employee, let's say if they're paying you $100, it's costing the employer $110.
Yes.
Because certain taxes, 6.2% of Social Security, 1.45% of the Medicare, then some SUI, SDI, FLI, certain taxes needs to be paid by the employer. So it's about give or take roughly 10%. So a lot of employers are happy to offer you 10% more on 1099 than on W-2. So a lot of people will say, you know what, I'll pay you $30 on W-2, but if you want on 1099, I'll pay you $33. And that's, the employer is not costing much. But IRS has a lot of rules, a lot of scrutiny around it, that this person should be your employee. Because if everybody becomes the 1099er,
yes.
IRS will lose a lot of money. Because on 1099, you have to file your own taxes, you go through the self-employment taxes. So government, especially the state government, is very, very particular about the labor laws, that this person has to be an employee. See, on 1099, if something is to happen to you, or you get hurt, who is going to pay for your unemployment? You're not employee. So in a lot of cases, the state ends up still bearing the loss. The state wants to make sure that on your behalf, somebody is funding, somebody is paying to the unemployment fund. That's why state is very, very particular about identifying who is employee and who is the 1099 consultant. But in the next episode, we'll be discussing all about 1099 versus W2, the consultant versus employee, pros and cons of each situation, the benefits, in what situation it makes sense for you to become the 1099er or the W2 employee. We'll discuss everything in our next episode.
That's going to be very interesting. But now, my last question to you is that 1099 or W2, they both pay taxes. One pays every week or every 2 weeks or every month whenever they get paycheck. The other one pays maybe quarterly or at the end of the year. But the amount of taxes they pay at the end of the day, it's the same, right?
Well, no, the 1099 pays an additional self-employment tax, which is about 15% on the net income. That's not paid by the W2 people. So it's 15% is the additional, other than the net income tax, that the 1099ers will pay based on their net income. The other thing you want to highlight, which we'll discuss more in details in our next episode, the 1099ers, the consultant, the contractors, are allowed to claim a lot of expenses for cost of doing business, their travel expenses, their entertainment expenses, their office expenses, the laptop, the internet, which W2 employees are not allowed to claim.
Correct.
Anymore.
So there are pros and cons.
So there are pros and cons of each situation. So you have to really look at your situation and decide what makes most sense and what's legally allowed in your case.
Absolutely. All right. So we have got enough information from you when it comes to 1099, NEC and MISC and then 1042S. And now you said that in the next episode, we're going to give out more information on W2s, and W2s, information on W2s can be very, very interesting. It will be definitely helpful for each and every one of you viewers. Ajay Kumar, thank you so very much for your time.
It's my pleasure.
And absolutely, it's our pleasure to be on ITV Gold with this Tax Talk show with Mr. Ajay Kumar. Remember, you can contact Sai CPA Services for any accounting tax related question. Do not sit back, do not avoid it, do not let it go. Do give them a call and you'll be very, very pleased with their response. I am Sanjeev Pandya, wishing you all happy and lucky days ahead. So long.